The community's love for the Lost Colony is not just because of the drama and excitement of outdoor theater, but also because of the very story that it tells.
Paul Green wrote a script and a story that speaks about hope and inspiration when things are desperate, that there is always that will and hope to move on and to look forward to times that are beyond that. And I think that story is still important today. The human spirit still really involves that hope, and in a struggle that we can move beyond that struggle to something that is far better than what we might know at the time. So that story still lives. The community is still very rich in supporting it, not only financially but also with generous donations, and they still sort of nurture it as being theirs, which is very much what it is. It transcends that community tradition and community involvement that the nation also believes in it as well too, which is quite remarkable to see a story and a play, and to see this play actually become very important to so many people across the nation. And that has taken place because of the endless, countless years of company members that have come to work here every summer. And they come here and they have an experience and they get to know the community that they fall in love with, and they also start to learn about a craft, and they start to learn about the world of theater. Now, many of these will go on to become big names and successful names. There's way too many to name. And then there are others that will decide that they're going to do something else, but they still carry the tradition and the experience of their summer with them. And that has permeated throughout the nation, which is quite remarkable. I've been very fortunate in my career to do both theater, film, and television. And no matter where I go, I always run into somebody who has had an association or worked for the Lost Colony. And that's quite remarkable, that you see that sense of a place and a community and a theater program, and you see the influence that it's had across the nation. And for a lot of our alumni to sort of speak about how they actually got their start here and how important it was to sort of shaping the professional that they would become later in their life is extremely important.
The history of the first cast were such a huge number of the performers were actually locals. The leads came from, I think, the University of North Carolina and other areas, but it was the local participating in it and the history of their being in it and the pride they took. I remember the first day I walked into town, and of course we had heard that everybody went barefoot, so the first thing we did when we arrived that day was throw off our shoes, never put them on again until, that was in May, and we didn't put them on again until Labor Day. And as we started down the street, there was a total stranger coming to us. They'd say, "Hi, are you here for the pageant?" Because they knew we were not familiar faces. The town was that small, and the people, it was hospitality right from the beginning. And they welcomed us into the community, and we began to feel a part of it. We got to know the people, because so many of them had been doing the show for so many years, from children up to older adults. They were all part of this production. I somehow or other knew in my heart that I would always come down here to live, because in the 14 years from the time I was in the show to begin with and left theater to come down, I would always, if I had a vacation, if I could just squeeze out 1 week someplace, I would come down and I'd feel like I was returning to paradise. It ultimately turned out that it provided me an opportunity to participate. And I discovered things about myself. I found out I could make a contribution. I had no idea when I started that I would ever be involved in the very many, many things that I've done in the Outer Banks, and specifically Roanoke Island. It's been hard for live theater to survive in this country. Television brought a big change, and a lot of people don't know what live theater is. And I feel very strongly that when children come to this show in the summertime, they are seeing live theater for the first time. So that's a major thing. It's part of their education. Also, the show itself has educational programs. It has so many extracurricular activities for the performers to participate in, and that creates a bigger presence in the community because of the way the visitors and the local children get drawn into it. So they get an education, whether it's a program called Tea with the Queen, where they actually experience many members of the show participating in I think it's about an hour and a half, 2 hour event. They get to feel like they're really in it. And all through, they're constantly coming up with more new projects that enlarge its presence in the community.
It's amazing to see sense of community and sense of nation come together. I think it's also the mystery too. People are lured here wanting to sort of try to solve the mystery of what actually happened to those individuals. 114 men, women, and children who disappeared. And to this day, we still don't even know what happened to them. And I think there's something to be said about that. I know if you're late here in the evenings, you're late at the theater, it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, you really do get a sense that there is others that are here, a sense that there are other souls that are sort of with you. And it's a good feeling, quite remarkable to know that this is on the very spot where those footprints were actually planted, and to know that there's this deep tradition of carrying that story on. I personally sometimes hope that the mysteries will never be solved because there is just such a mystery to it. And it's one of our nation's greatest mysteries. And of course, school children study it. We as adults discuss it and talk about it and try to solve the mystery. So I think all those components together make it a national treasure.
It's the history of our birthplace, and it is the birthplace of outdoor theater as we know it, and it is tradition which we don't ever want to see disappear, and it's been a launching pad for quite a few theatrical careers that people have gone all over the country, and they're the first ones to say, I got my start in the Lost Colony.
It has survived because of the local community who have given it birth, who have nurtured it and loved it, to the state of North Carolina that sees it as a state treasure and a valuable part of their history, and to a nation at large that really sees it as the beginning of English-speaking America and a story, an American story, which needs to be told.
We're not afraid. And down the centuries that wait ahead, there'll be some whisper of our name, some mention and devotion to the dream that brought us here.
Although it remains a mystery as to what happened to Sir Walter Raleigh's ill-fated colonist, it's no mystery as to where you can learn more about the story and even become a part of it, right here at the Waterside Theater, at the Lost Colony. I'm Ken Mann. Thank you so much for watching, and may God bless you richly.
Sunny seaside.